Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we sift through tons of research so you don't have to, and share the most interesting tidbits with you.
The best parts.
Exactly. Today, we are going deep on card games.
Ooh, fun.
We've got articles about new games,
Okay.
what makes a card game great, and why card games are so popular even after all these years.
Yeah, it's true. They really have stood the test of time.
You might even find your next game night favorite
Ooh, I love that.
from all this research.
Yeah, what's interesting is we'll be looking at why simple can sometimes be better.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Not just in card games, but in life, too.
Exactly. And speaking of simple yet brilliant, we'll be diving into a new card game called Three's Not a Crowd that's set to release in December.
Oh, wow. December 2024. That's coming up quick.
It is.
Seems to be turning heads in the gaming world.
Okay, so let's jump right in. This article, 7 Reasons Why Card Games Continue to Thrive, lays out why card games are still so popular.
Okay.
One of the biggest reasons is their portability. You can take a deck of cards practically anywhere. To a party, on vacation,
Road trip.
even camping.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, anywhere.
Yeah. And it's not just about convenience. The article highlights how this portability makes card games perfect for spontaneous fun.
Yeah.
You can pull out a deck and start playing within minutes, unlike more complex board games that require setup time.
Oh, totally. That's so true.
Yeah.
And speaking of simplicity, there's this idea of adaptability.
Yeah.
You can tweak the rules, come up with house rules.
Oh, I love house.
Or even create entirely new games
Yeah.
using a standard deck of cards.
That's awesome. It's this flexibility that keeps card games fresh and exciting.
Yeah.
You're not limited to a single set of rules, so you can always find ways to customize the experience.
I love that.
Right?
You know, one of the things that surprised me was how profitable card games can be. Of course, we all know about poker.
Right.
But the article also talks about the booming market for rare and collectible cards.
That's right. The world of collectible card games, or TCGs, has become a huge industry.
Huge.
For certain rare cards from games like Magic, The Gathering, or Pokemon can be worth a fortune.
It really is fascinating how a piece of cardboard can become so valuable. It's like a combination of gaming, collecting, and investing all rolled into one.
Absolutely. And let's not forget the competitive aspect of card games. For those who love a good challenge, card games offer a chance to hone their skills and outsmart their opponents.
Oh, yeah. There's something incredibly satisfying about making a strategic play that completely changes the course of the game. It's those aha moments that keep you coming back for more.
Yes, I love that feeling. Speaking of strategy, one of our sources dives into the importance of simplicity in card game design.
Okay.
The article, Card Games, A Simple Design is a Good Design, argues that complexity doesn't always equal a better game.
Interesting.
They actually use an example from Magic, The Gathering, to illustrate this point.
Oh, okay. Something about a card called Summit Prowler?
Yes. The author imagines how a new designer might try to improve this simple yet effective card by adding more abilities, essentially making it more complex.
Got it.
But the result is a card that's harder to understand and ultimately less strategically viable.
Yeah.
By trying to do too much, the card loses its focus and becomes less effective.
So it's like that saying, less is more.
Exactly.
Sometimes focusing on one thing and doing it really well can be more impactful than trying to be a jack of all trades.
Exactly. It's a valuable lesson for game design, but it also applies to life in general.
Oh, for sure.
We often try to juggle too many things at once, and the quality of our work suffers. If we simplify our approach and focus on our strengths, we might achieve better results.
I love that. Now let's move on to something I'm really excited to talk about. What makes a card game truly great?
Okay, let's do it.
We have an article here called What Makes a Good Card Game Great? And it dives deep into the essential elements.
All right. It emphasizes that a great card game needs a clear purpose and gameplay that's been thoroughly tested and refined.
Okay.
It's not enough to have a cool concept.
Right.
The mechanics have to be solid and engaging.
And it can't be all about luck either, right? There has to be a strategic element that rewards skillful play.
Yes.
But it can't be so complex that it becomes inaccessible to casual players.
Right. The article calls it a delicate balance between strategic depth and accessibility.
Right.
When it's done well, it creates an incredibly engaging experience that appeals to a wide range of players.
Exactly. And of course, a great card game needs to be highly replayable, offering unique experiences each time.
Think about your favorite card games.
Yeah.
What keeps you coming back for more? Is it the challenge, the social interaction, the thrill of victory?
All of it.
A great card game should have those addictive qualities that make you crave another round.
I like that. Another round. And we can't forget about the visuals. A well-designed card can really enhance the experience.
Absolutely. Captivating artwork and design can draw you into the game's world and create a more immersive experience.
Yeah.
Think about games like Mysterium or Arkham Horror, where the artwork is a key part of the atmosphere.
Visuals are so important.
Mhm.
But let's not overlook the social element either. Card games are often enjoyed with friends and family,
Oh, yeah?
and a great game should foster that interaction.
A good card game should work well with different player counts and play styles, whether it's 2 people or 6. It
Right.
needs to be scalable and adaptable so everyone feels engaged.
And speaking of engagement, a great card game should transport you to another world. Think about games like Unstable Unicorns or Spheres of Life, Mythical Forest,
Yeah.
that create a sense of story and adventure.
I love that. That's what the article refers to as thematic immersion.
Uh-huh.
A well-crafted theme can add a whole other layer of enjoyment to the game.
Definitely. And let's not forget about the game's length. Nobody wants a game to drag on forever.
So true, right? The article stresses that a good card game should offer a satisfying experience within a reasonable time frame. And speaking of satisfying, let's not forget the importance of a well-designed endgame.
Well, the end game.
A great card game should build towards a thrilling conclusion where everyone feels like they have a chance to win.
That final push for victory, the nail-biting suspense, it's what makes those memories stick with you long after the game is over.
Yes. Speaking of games that are generating buzz, let's transition to Three's Not a Crowd. This new game set to launch in December.
Yeah.
What's fascinating here is that it was developed by a single passionate individual,
A solo developer.
a solo developer.
Wow. It's a real underdog story. And the gameplay is unlike anything I've seen before. Instead of collecting pairs, players aim for sets of 3 identical cards.
Huh.
Have you ever encountered that mechanic before?
Not that I recall. This focus on trios instead of pairs is such a clever twist, and I'm really curious to see how it impacts strategic thinking during the game.
Me too. And then there are these powerful game breaker cards that can completely shake things up.
From the articles and podcasts we've reviewed, it seems like these Game Breaker cards are rare cards with unique abilities that can dramatically alter the game's state. Imagine a card that lets you steal cards from another player,
Ow.
or forces everyone to discard their hand.
Exactly. They add a layer of unpredictability and excitement to the game, making it even more engaging.
And did you see the part about the elemental effects?
I did.
Apparently, Three's Not a Crowd incorporates fire, water, and ice. And each element has unique abilities that can affect gameplay.
Oh, wow. So is it like fire gives you an offensive advantage, water's more defensive, and ice slows down your opponents?
That's the impression I get. It sounds like a brilliant way to add another layer of strategy and depth to the game. And from what we've gathered, the developer has put a lot of effort into balancing these elements to ensure no single element is overpowered.
It really sounds like they found that sweet spot between accessibility and strategic depth that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
And it's pretty incredible to think that all of this came from a single developer.
It's a testament to the power of passion and dedication. In an industry often dominated by big studios and huge budgets, this solo-developed game is making waves and captivating the gaming community.
It's inspiring to see that you don't need a huge team to create something truly special. Sometimes all it takes is one person with a vision and the drive to make it a reality.
I agree. It really goes to show that a great idea and a dedicated individual can make a real impact.
Yeah.
And speaking of impact, Three's Not a Crowd also seems to have nailed the thematic immersion aspect we discussed earlier.
Oh yeah, I was just getting to that. From what I read, the artwork on the cards is stunning. It really draws you into this world of elemental powers and strategic card play.
It sounds like they didn't just focus on the mechanics, but on the overall player experience. And from the early buzz, they seem to have succeeded.
Yeah, they really seem to be onto something special here.
What stands out to you about Three's Not a Crowd?
For me, it's the combination of familiar elements with unique twists. The elemental powers add a layer of strategy that I find really intriguing. Plus, I love that it's a card game that encourages you to think in sets of 3 instead of pairs. It's such a simple change, but it has the potential to completely change the way you approach the game.
It definitely sounds like a game that rewards creative thinking and strategic planning. Now, before we move on, I think it's worth reflecting on this idea of simple design leading to better outcomes. It's a concept that resonates beyond the world of card games.
Absolutely. It makes you think about how we approach problems and challenges in our own lives. Are we overcomplicating things? Could we achieve better results by simplifying our approach and focusing on our core strengths?
It's a powerful question to consider. And thinking back to our sources, it's interesting how they highlighted the adaptability of card games, not just in terms of rules, but also in how they can be enjoyed by people of all ages and backgrounds.
Yeah, that's one of the things I love about card games. They're so versatile. You can find a card game for practically any occasion, whether it's a casual gathering with friends, a family game night, or even a competitive tournament.
They truly transcend generations and cultures. Speaking of different types of card games, we briefly touched on the world of collectible card games and how some rare cards can be worth a lot of money.
Right,
It's a fascinating side of the hobby that's worth exploring further.
absolutely. It's mind-boggling to think that a single card can be worth thousands, even millions of dollars. What factors determine the value of these cards? Is it purely rarity, or does the artwork and condition also play a role?
It's a complex combination of factors. Rarity is definitely a key driver, especially for cards that were printed in limited quantities or have special features. But the artwork is also crucial. Certain artists are highly sought after, and their signature on a card can significantly increase its value.
And then there's the condition of the card, right?
Mhm.
A pristine card is going to be worth more than one that's been played and handled extensively.
Exactly. There's a whole grading system for collectible cards, with companies that specialize in evaluating the condition and authenticity of cards. And for serious collectors, having a professionally graded card can make a huge difference in its value.
It's like a whole other world within the world of card games. And it just goes to show how diverse and multifaceted this hobby truly is.
It really is. From classic card games like poker and bridge, to modern collectible card games, and innovative indie creations like Three's Not a Crowd, there's something out there for everyone.
I think you're right. Speaking of Three's Not a Crowd, we were discussing how it incorporates elemental powers into its gameplay. I'm curious to know more about how these elements actually work. Do they give players special abilities? Do they affect the cards themselves?
Based on the articles we've read, it seems each element is tied to specific actions or effects within the game. For example, a fire card might allow you to discard cards from your opponent's hand, while a water card could let you draw extra cards.
So the elements add a strategic layer to the game, allowing players to manipulate the flow of the game in different ways.
Precisely. And from what I understand, the developer has put a lot of thought into balancing these elements, ensuring that no single element is too powerful or dominant.
It sounds like they've created a really intricate and balanced system that adds depth and replayability to the game.
It certainly seems that way. And it brings us back to that earlier discussion about simple design. Even though Three's Not a Crowd incorporates these complex elements,
Hmm.
the core gameplay still revolves around that simple yet brilliant concept of collecting sets of three.
Yeah, it's like they've taken a familiar concept
Mm.
and elevated it to a whole new level by adding layers of strategy and thematic depth. I think that's a hallmark of truly great game design, finding that perfect balance between simplicity and complexity.
Absolutely. And speaking of great design, one of the things that impressed me about Three's Not a Crowd was the developers' dedication to accessibility. They wanted to create a game that was easy to learn but offered enough strategic depth to keep experienced players engaged.
It's a tough balance to strike, but it sounds like they've managed to pull it off. And it's inspiring to see a solo developer achieving such a high level of polish and refinement.
It speaks volumes about their passion for the project and their commitment to creating a truly enjoyable gaming experience.
It makes you wonder what other hidden gems are out there waiting to be discovered. There are so many talented game designers out there pushing the boundaries of creativity and innovation.
It's an exciting time to be a card game enthusiast. With the rise of crowdfunding platforms and independent game studios, we're seeing a renaissance in card game design. And it's not just about creating new games, it's also about revitalizing classic games and introducing them to new audiences.
We've talked a lot about the positive aspects of card games, but I'm curious, are there any potential drawbacks or challenges that we should consider?
That's a great question. One potential challenge is the increasing dominance of digital gaming. With the rise of smartphones, tablets, and online gaming platforms, it can be difficult for physical card games to compete for attention.
That's a valid concern. But as we discussed earlier, there's something special about the tactile experience of playing with physical cards. You can't replicate the feeling of shuffling a deck of cards, dealing them out, and holding those cards in your hand.
You're absolutely right, and I think there will always be a place for physical card games, even in an increasingly digital world. People crave those face-to-face interactions, those shared experiences that digital games can't always provide.
I agree. There's something inherently social about gathering around a table with friends or family and playing a card game. It creates a sense of connection and community that's hard to find elsewhere.
And it's not just about the social aspect. Playing card games also has cognitive benefits. They can improve memory focus and strategic thinking skills.
That's a great point. Card games are like a workout for your brain. They challenge you to think critically, make decisions under pressure, and adapt to changing circumstances.
And they can be a great way to de-stress and unwind after a long day. There's something incredibly therapeutic about focusing on a game and letting go of your worries for a while.
Absolutely. Card games offer a unique blend of entertainment, social interaction, and mental stimulation. And in a world that's increasingly fast-paced and digital, they provide a welcome respite, a chance to slow down and connect with others in a meaningful way.
Speaking of connection, I think it's time to bring this discussion back to our listener and challenge them to think about how these insights into card games can be applied to their own lives.
That's a great idea. So for our listener, we've explored the enduring appeal of card games, the power of simplicity and design, the elements that make a card game truly great, and even touched on the fascinating world of collectible card games. But what does this all mean for you? How can you apply these concepts to your own life and experiences?
We've talked about how card games can be a source of entertainment, competition, and even financial gain, but they can also teach us valuable lessons about strategy focus and adaptability, lessons that can be applied to various aspects of our lives.
It's like those strategic decisions you make in a card game can mirror the choices we face in our daily lives. Do we take risks? Do we play it safe? Do we adapt to changing circumstances?
Exactly, and just as a well-designed card game has a clear purpose and a set of rules, so too should our goals and aspirations have a clear direction and a framework for achieving them.
And we talked about how simplicity can be a strength in card game design. How can we apply that principle to declutter our lives and focus on what truly matters?
It's about identifying the essential elements, those core values and priorities that drive our actions and decisions. By simplifying our approach and eliminating distractions, we can free up mental energy and resources to pursue those things that bring us fulfillment and purpose.
That's so true. And just like in a card game where you have to adapt to unexpected twists and turns, life throws us curveballs all the time. How can we cultivate that flexibility and resilience to navigate challenges effectively?
It's about embracing change, learning from setbacks, and being willing to adjust our strategies when needed. Just as a skilled card player anticipates their opponent's moves, we can develop a mindset that allows us to anticipate challenges and adapt accordingly.
And let's not forget the social aspect of card games. They bring people together, fostering connection and a sense of community. How can we strengthen those bonds in our own lives?
It's about making time for meaningful interactions, nurturing relationships, and creating opportunities for shared experiences. Just as a card game provides a framework for social interaction, we can create spaces and occasions that foster connection and belonging in our own lives.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into the world of card games, it's clear they offer more than just entertainment. They provide a lens through which we can examine our own lives, learn valuable lessons, and discover new ways to connect with ourselves and others.
Whether you're a seasoned card shark or a casual player, there's something truly fascinating about this timeless pastime. It's a world of strategy, chance, and social interaction. A world where simplicity can be a strength and adaptability is key to success.
And who knows, maybe this deep dive has sparked an interest in exploring a new card game or revisiting an old favorite. Or perhaps it's inspired you to approach life with a bit more strategy focus and a willingness to adapt and learn along the way.
Whatever your takeaway, we hope this deep dive has provided you with valuable insights and sparked some thought-provoking questions. Remember, life like a card game is full of surprises. It's how we play our hand that truly matters.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep those cards shuffling.
And thinking about all this, it really makes you wonder how those ideas from card games can be applied to other areas of life.
I was just thinking that, like, how can we be more strategic in our decision-making? Or embrace simplicity to achieve our goals?
Exactly. It's about recognizing those parallels and seeing how the principles of good game design can translate into a more fulfilling life.
So it's not just about winning the game, but about learning valuable lessons along the way.
Precisely. It's about approaching life with that same sense of curiosity and strategic thinking.
I love that. So for our listeners out there, as you shuffle your decks and strategize your next move, remember that the lessons learned from card games can extend far beyond the table.
They can empower you to make smarter decisions, embrace simplicity, and navigate the complexities of life with more grace and resilience.
We hope this deep dive has inspired you to think differently, not only about card games, but about life itself.
Until next time, happy gaming.
And happy living.